Hello, dear students. Welcome back to our grammar lesson today. Well, this is Unit 11, so I'm going to share with you my screen so that you can see what we have for this uh, unit, which is, of course, one of the last, and it should be, and it is in a way, more complex. Okay, then uh, today you will see Unit 11's grammar, which is on real past, conditionals, and inversions. So, as it is unreal, we should be talking about something that it is not happening in real world. It should be a subjunctive mood. Okay, so let us see some examples. Okay, so this is a person who is waiting to start a presentation to a large audience. And this is just scary. Okay, so this is a fear for this person. Okay, then uh, notice that she is waiting. She is not doing her or his presentation. Okay, then she is or he is thinking. And this person is saying, I wish I was somewhere else. That is, she wish not to be in the place she is or he is. She wish to be in a different place. But this is not possible. She is in the way she is. She is in the place she is. She is waiting for her presentation or his presentation. Okay. Then we can see the second. If only I had spent more time preparing. So she has some questions in her mind or his mind. I don't know. Let's think this is a woman. Okay. So she is thinking, if only I had spent more time preparing. So she would be, of course, ready to give her talk. But in this case, she is just expecting that, okay? Because the time was that she used for her presentation, okay? Preparing herself. Then another of her thoughts, I rather not do this. So according to preferences, she would say, I'd rather not do this. I better stay at home or I better do a different activity. Another of her ideas, what if I am asked a question I can't answer? So I don't know. I am in panic. I don't know what to do. And let's see her last idea. It's high time somebody turn up. Okay. So notice that in this case, it's not, okay, uh, a great moment. It's high time somebody turn up. Okay. Then all those ideas are in her mind, not in the present moment. That happens to us constantly. And that's why we use this unreal past, which is called hypothetical or also uh, the subjunctive mood. Well, let's see the different expressions we have used. Okay, so in this unit, you can see that there are a number of structures in English that could be followed by past tenses, which have not a past idea, but a present or a future meaning. Okay, and we use these structures to express unreal or hypothetical situations. Okay, let's see one of them one by one. Okay, for instance, would rather or would just as soon. They have the same meaning. I wish or if only. Okay, what if or supposing or suppose. or it's time, or just it's high time. Okay, so let's see, because we have expressed all those examples in the presentation. Okay, so let's go to these step by step. On real past forms like those, okay, could be, for instance, would rather, would just as soon, and we use these two, okay, to express a preference for what someone or something should do, okay? We use would rather or would just as soon, okay, plus a base form. A base form when the subject doesn't change, okay? For instance, I rather not talk about this now. Or we use would rather, would just as soon, plus a subject, plus a past form when the subject changes, okay? So notice the examples. For instance, we say, would rather you didn't park your car here, okay? That's what we prefer. Or they'd just as soon the government spend the money on something else. Notice that with or they'd means they'd, they would, or with, we would, okay? And we can say the same with other subjects, she'd, he'd, I'd, etc. Okay? Well, you'd, I wish, or if only, have the meaning, okay, to talk about imaginary situations that we would like to be true or to come true, right? That is, we are eager that that thing happens, okay? Then they have the same meaning as I said, but notice that if we say if only, it would be with a stronger meaning, okay? We use if or if only plus a past tense to talk about a present situation, okay? A present situation that, uh, sorry, the present situation, you see, that, of course, uh, would would be true. I mean, we wish that it will be true, okay? Then we say, for instance, I wish my apartment was a bit bigger, okay? And notice that we say, I wish. That's not real. This is something that I have in mind. And of course, I use a past tense in the last sentence, okay? My apartment was a bit bigger. But talking about the subjunctive mood, this is a third person singular. And for a third person singular, normally we use the form were, okay? I wish I were you. I wish you were somebody else, okay? But we also say, I wish my apartment, which is only one, okay, were a bit bigger. That's according to the subjunctive mood. So according to the usages of usages of these, let's say, past form, well, we could also use was, but that's up to you. You may say with was because it is third person singular, or you could use were because that's the subjunctive mode. Okay, then, uh, but that depends on you, nothing else, right? Then we could also say it, for instance, in this case, that we use wish or if only plus a past perfect. Look at that. Past perfect to talk about a past situation that we would like to be different as it happened. Okay. So the example, for instance, could be the house with light was sold yesterday. If only we'd call the owner right away, it could be, okay, a chance for us. But I didn't call, okay? My wife didn't call. So we didn't have that chance. It's something in the past that, of course, uh, we would like to be different. I wish, okay, I wish my apartment could be a bit bigger, okay? So maybe that was the right moment to have a different house, okay? Then we use wish, or okay, or if only, plus someone, plus would, plus a base form when we would like someone to do or stop doing something, okay? For instance, I wish you wouldn't make so much noise. Look at that. You can listen, okay? So that's something that I have in mind. I wish you wouldn't make so much noise. And when we use it's high time, okay, it's high time, well, we use this to talk about what needs to be done right now, okay? Then we use it when we are, okay, annoyed that something hasn't happened yet, all right? And we add the adjective high just to make a stronger statement, okay? Then we can say, it's time you found a job. So this is just unbelievable. You should be working, okay? So it's time you found a job. And if I want to be making emphasis on that, I will say, it's high time you found a job. So that's the normal way we refer to this, let's say, annoying situation, okay? Then we also have the use of suppose or supposing on what if. We use suppose or what if, okay, plus a past perfect to talk about an imaginary situation, right, in the past. We say, for instance, suppose you'd been born in a different country. Would you still have the same personality? Obviously not. But this is something unreal, okay? We can use imagine plus a past tense with the same meaning as supposing, okay? Then, as you have it here, okay, well, we can say here, for instance, the example, okay, we said we also use suppose and what if, okay, plus a present tense to talk about what might happen in the future. So if we say, suppose it rains, that's a conditional, okay? Will they cancel the concert? That's for you to think about that. What do you think? I want to know your idea about that. So this is a hypothetical situation. Then in more formal contexts, we use were instead of was. That's what I said because of the subjunctive mood. Then suppose your boss were more supportive. Would you still want to quit? Okay. So notice that these are unreal. These are hypothetical situations. Okay. Then let's see another form. Okay. So we had explained all these forms. Let's see another form that we had to study in unit number 11. So let's take a look at these, let's say, uh, question that we have in this uh, in this page, okay? writeorrun.com. Okay? Then, in this case, we will see, or we will see the use, or we will use so, or as long as, provided, or providing, were I to, or had I. Well, notice that in those cases, we have conditionals and inversions, okay? So In the first case, you say, if you were, okay, this is a question, but notice that, of course, in a question, you must follow the conditional first. If you were to find a wallet on the street, would you hand it to the police? That's a hypothetical situation as well. But in this case, we are using the conditional first and then the question, as you know, with an inversion as it should be, okay? So the answers could be, yes, I would, unless it had a lot of money in it. So there is a conditional. If you were to find a wallet, I didn't find a wallet on the street. But if you were to find a wallet, what would you do? Okay. And the first case, yes, I would. I would send it to the police. I would hand it to the police. But I won't do it if it had a lot of money inside. Or the item B, yes, provided there were something that showed who the owner was. So in this case, the condition it's present here because there should be an identification that I should use to recognize the person who is the owner. Then, in this case, yes, provided there was something that showed who the owner was, like a bank card or a driving license. Or the last possibility would be no, I'd keep it so long as no one saw me pick it up. So this is not so honest, but in fact, there are lots of people who will do this. What about you? Would you select A, B, or C? Well, this is something which is, of course, uh, for us to think about the way we behave. Well, another question that we may find in these, well, would be, were an advertising agency to offer you a part in an ad for a product you didn't actually like, would you accept the job? So in the first case, it has to do with our moral values. In the second case, it's also a matter of principles, the way you should defend an idea or not. Well, there are three possible answers here. Remember the question was, would you accept the job? Well, the first one, yes, so long I thought the product was harmless. Or B, no, I would never sell a product unless I really believe in it. Or C, yes, provided the money was good enough. So we are going to analyze all these, but notice that here we have an inversion. Were an advertising agency to offer you a part in an ad. So which is the subject of this sentence? An advertising agency, okay? And which is the verb, were to offer you. Well, in this case, the verb and the complement, it's divided. We have to offer in the place it should be because it is not uh, a finite verb. It is, as you see, just the verb in its simple form, in its base form to infinity. And where it's used here to represent this conditional sentence. But let us analyze all these, let's say, possibilities. Well, in this case, as you can see, okay, we use the first conditional to talk about real situations in the present and in the future. For that, we use will, might, going to, or an imperative. For instance, if you arrive at the restaurant, first get table, okay? So this is the first conditional. It's not so real. It's just a real situation that it's going to happen right now. If you arrive at the restaurant first, you will be the first, but it could be me, the first who arrives, get a table or gets a table, better say. Then we use the second conditional to talk about hypothetical situations in the present and in the future. And in this case, we form it with if, the past tense, remember, or the subjunctive mood, which is the same, plus would or could or might, that depends, and then the main verb. We say, if I wasn't busy, I'd go with you, but I am busy right now. So this is the second conditional because we are not talking about something that could be possible at the moment, okay? So we use in the second, the past uh, subjunctive mood. Then in the third conditional, we say the form it with if plus the past perfect plus would or could or might, and then the perfect tense. That means that you will have and the past perfect of the main verb. Okay, so this third conditional, it's to talk about a hypothetical situation, not a real one. Okay, then in this case, we say, for instance, if we had arrived at the movie theater, it means it's a hypothesis. It's not real. We haven't arrived at the theater, okay? So if we had arrived at the movie theater early, we would have gotten good seats. So in that case, well, we didn't arrive on time. So we, of course, uh, were not able to find good seats. That's the real thing. And now we are maybe on the rear part of the theater, or maybe in a place we cannot see the performance of the actresses or actors in the good position. Well, something like that, okay? It means, in fact, when we say, if we hadn't arrived at the movie theater, if we had arrived at the movie theater early, we would have gotten good seats. It means we didn't get those good seats, okay? But notice that unconsciously I use it with, if we hadn't arrived, we could also have this in the negative form, okay? So these are the three types of conditionals, but we also study a mixed conditional form, okay? So mixed conditional combine second and third conditional forms, okay? If we were more organized, we wouldn't have missed your flight. So you aren't organized at this moment, okay? And so, of course, you missed your flight in the past, okay? In the second and third conditional, we say sometimes we use this structure if it wasn't, or if it were, if it hadn't been for, or using together with a noun. It means if this thing or situation didn't exist or hadn't existed, okay? And of course, it's a conditional that we use to express something that it's not possible. For instance, if it hadn't been for Tom, I wouldn't never had met Ella. So there is a reason here to meet this person, okay? Ella, it was presented, maybe, I don't know, by Tom, or maybe she is her sister, his sister, Tom's sisters, or I don't know, okay? Then there is, of course, a relation in this case, okay? And the situation we have now is only possible because of one thing, the presence of Tom, Okay, so this thing or situation didn't exist or hadn't existed if not the condition that we mentioned had happened. Okay, then in this case, we may, let's say, use these situations to express, okay, the differences or the different forms, okay? And we could also use the inverted form, which is a little bit more elegant. And sometimes we use it just for, let's say, expressing the same idea we express with the conditional, okay? But of course, it's something that is particular to the language. So which is the way we invert the order of these, let's say, elements? Well, in the second and third conditional sentences, we can invert the subject and the auxiliary in the if clause and omit the word if. When we make this inversion, we do not use if, which is the condition. This is the first rule, okay? We do this in a more formal context, okay? Then we say, were he richer, he would have more options. He is not a rich person, or he is not rich enough, okay? But of course, he has his options. Not all he wants, but he has his options. When we mix this as a hypothetical situation, we say, if he were richer, that's the normal way. If he were richer, he would have more options. But using the inversion, we may say, were he richer, he would have more options. Or we could also say it with the auxiliary had. For instance, had we been warned, okay? Notice that in this case, we had used a past perfect, okay? Why? Because we have said if we had been warned, that's a hypothetical situation in the past, okay? If we had been warned, he would not have been upset, okay? But we weren't warned, okay? And he is upset or he was upset, okay? Then in that case, we may substitute these in a formal way, eliminating if and just making the inversion, okay? Had we been warned, we would not have been upset, okay? We could or we can also use should plus a subject in first conditional, okay, in place of the if clause. That's good. And we say, should you require any assistance, please call me, okay? So the first conditional, notice that it is the one that could be probable, okay? We are just setting the elements to, let's say, take into account. So if you require any assistance, please call me. That's the normal idea for help, okay? Then, if you require any assistance, please call me. We make this inverted, well, in the inversion, eliminating if, as we mentioned. So we don't use if. And then instead of using the verb need or require, which are the main verb, well, we use should, which was not in that sentence. But of course, we say, should you require any assistance in the future, the idea is in the future, please call me, okay? That's it. That's the way we should analyze the different forms of a language for this unit 11, okay? So that's everything. And notice that we had practiced, we have analyzed all the possible forms for mentioning these conditionals. And some of them are, of course, inverted as were I or had I or should we or should I. That depends on the different forms we use. Okay, so I need you to practice those forms in sentences and do the exercises we have for this unit. Okay, so goodbye for today, and I'll see you next Sunday. Okay, that's it. I will stop sharing with you my presentation. And of course, I will stop this recording because you are going to practice. See you on Sunday, remember. Okay, then bye bye.